Hey, Hiccup with Tourettes here, and as you've guessed it, there's another video about Tourettes, and it's happening right now. So, as the seasons change, as the leaves shift in color, as the moon changes shape, there's another cycle that is in motion. It's seemingly the people faking Tourettes, and they're coming to your For You page. Up a dick. That's where they're going. But there's another cycle at play that I have noticed, and it's, again, the leaves, the moon, all that shit. It's all intertwined. It's the damn people who don't know shit about Tourettes, and then they're acting like they know more than I do, and they're acting no more about it. It's them. It's the fake claimers. But I hear you say, bitch. But I hear you say, they have dyed hair. They'll play a song, and then they'll just tick to the beat. God forbid, some of them even have pronouns. Oh, bitch. Ow, that fucking hurt. I had a new piercing right there. Oh, bitch. So with Tourette's, it's hard to describe how it feels to someone that doesn't have it and thus can't really truly understand it. So, we have this thing called a premonitory urge. I knew I was going to do that. But, bitch. I can feel that tick happening before I do it. And unless you really have experienced a premonitory urge, I can describe it as much as I want, but you will never truly know what it is. There's the sensation when you tick. There's the having to do the tick when you feel like it's happening. You're like, God, this is going to be so embarrassing. And then you just have to do it, and then it's unleashed. Like a bird. It's really hard to describe, and I keep seeing this thing online where people are like, well, it's a spasm, and you can clearly tell when someone's like trying to fake a spasm. Well, ticks and spasms are very different. I've heard ticks called like somewhere like in between controllable and uncontrollable. And that's because they can be suppressed to some degree. And unless you have ticks, you can't really understand tick suppression. But spasms, you have no control over whatsoever. I can have a tick that can cause a spasm. I used to have a tick where I would just tense the muscles in my leg really, really hard, and sometimes that would cause a painful spasm in my leg. So when people are like, you know, all ticks are just super painful because they're just spasms, that's not true. Yes, ticks can be painful. The ones where I hit myself are painful. The ticks where I tense my leg and cause a spasm, those are painful. But not every tick is painful. Now let's talk about ticking to a beat. So me personally, my Tourette's are very rhythm focused. So I'm gonna raise myself up. So when I do the chest hitting tick, it's da 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 dun dun da 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 dun. So it is ticking to a beat. What people are talking about usually is people with Tourette's that tick to a beat in a song, and because we don't really get a glimpse of the behind the scenes of those videos, we don't know how much tries that took to get. Some people may have that similar rhythm tick, but with the song. So the beat of the song might line up with, you know, that tick. I can't perfectly explain it, but however, kind of going to my last point, unless you have Tourette's, it's kind of a difficult concept to wrap your mind around. And it's also very difficult to explain. Another point I hear is that there's all these tic trenders, Tourette trenders, or whatever. I kind of disagree. Bitch. I will say that Tourette's has gotten a pretty decent following on, especially TikTok. But a lot of people do find Tourette's funny, which is why people with Tourette's will put out funny videos so they can get an audience. But I've noticed a lot of those people will also not purely put out humor. They will put out, education too, to get people with the comedy and then educate them. That bitch got a goddamn headache. Oh, that hair's messed up. That hair's messed up. A lot of other people are just very isolated about their Tourette's. I am like this. I purposely sought out an online community so I can just find people more like me, so I can feel less weird. I can talk to people who have dealt with, having tics in public and how they go about that process of getting people to kind of understand their Tourette's better. A lot of it's just more of a community than a trend. The next point is kind of less of a, disapproval, but more of a kind of a insult, is when people will say that all of us just look the same with piercings, tattoos, pronouns, dyed hair. That bitch. Many of those things are just kind of how we reclaim ourselves, because we don't have full control over our body. Therefore, we find other ways where we do have control. I've done 2 videos about how I've gotten piercings with Tourette's. I guess simply is that my tics calm down a lot when I'm getting a piercing. That's a dead bird. I think a lot of it is just linked to identity. People just want to be themselves, and their body is kind of telling us that we can't, because I can't even control my damn body, so bird emergency. So that's just kind of how we find ourselves. It's weird. And then as far as pronouns, people just want to be called what's most comfortable to them, what's most accurate to them. And besides, everyone has pronouns, so they just go on TikTok and make it their whole identity. Well, how I've noticed is TikTok kind of rewards you if you carve out your own niche and you stay there. So I made a video and it got viral, but it had nothing to do with my Tourette's. So now when I do Tourette's videos, I just kind of lose followers because people knew me from a funny stitch I did, and not most of them don't know I have Tourette's. That bitch. That one was a pig. So yeah, most people who you think are making it their whole identity, number one, it's probably just for awareness and trying to find also a community. And then number two, it's just kind of the niche that they've been forced into by the TikTok algorithm. But it looks fake. Another point is, if it was real, they'd look more like, Evie Meg and less like Tics and Roses. You don't say that name around here. Some tics do, in fact, look fake, but it's it's in your mind what you perceive as fake and what you don't. So how your mind works about how Tourette's should behave is not the reality. There's so many different flavors of Tourette's where some of them are going to look fake. There's been videos of people I followed on TikTok where it's like, okay, but that looks kind of suspicious. And then later I learned more about them and they're like, okay, yeah, that person is legitimate. It's not up to us to be the judge of who is actually having Tourette's and who's not. But I am. My working theory is that if someone is faking Tourette's and then they just go on to do something else, then they'll carry that reminder of that really embarrassing and cringy thing that they did, and hopefully that will kind of be enough of a deterrent. So if Tourette's is just so diverse, so unique to each and every individual person, how is there actually a way to figure out if someone has Tourette's? It's actually very difficult than what you might initially think, because I used to watch people like Sweet Anita and it's like, this is just has to be fake. She's just hamming it up for the camera. I learned more about her and her story and it's like, no, okay, she's just unfortunately has a very severe case of Tourette's, and it manifests in that way that to me looked fake, and to you may look fake as well, but it's not up to us to judge who has the real neurodivergencies and who doesn't. There's one way I've kind of noticed, I don't know how consistent it is, but usually if like a motor tic is real, sometimes you'll see kind of a build-up. It's like sometimes I'll like do stuff with my eyes like this is a recreation of it before I like hit my head. Okay, that time I actually did it, but you could kind of see that build-up. So I'm gonna end it with my kind of spicy take. My spicy take is that Tourette fakers aren't really that harmful. They do piss me off when I see them, but I think what's mostly pretty harmful is the people who then weaponize that to go after people with Tourette's. It's just frustrating seeing, you know, people I know on TikTok getting demonized for just their disability. It's just ableism. Fake claiming is just... There's a fine line between weeding out the actual fakers and just like flat out pissing on people with an actual disability. So, my takeaway is to fucking leave. My takeaway is a quote from Bill and Ted: be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you now will treat people with Tourette's better. Have a good day. Bye. Please subscribe also. Yeah.